I have the very good fortune of having a career in marketing that's been in a lot of different places. So I've worked for some big media companies like the Denver Post, was there for quite some time. I've worked for some big media channel .coms like Trulia Zillow and Cars.com. And what's interesting about all of them, the nature of the customers are similar, but they're completely different with what they're trying to do. A realtor has different interests as a car dealer versus a retail shop owner, and on and on. But all the things you do are the sum parts of what you are today. And I've had great fortune. I am a geek about marketing, love to talk it. Stephen knows. So let's talk about the definition of marketing. So the dictionary says an action or business promoting or selling products or services, including marketing, research, and advertising. A lot of people confuse marketing and advertising. They are the same, they are different, they are parts of each other. The 7 P's of marketing. Am I taking you back to what you learned, Tom, from the get-go? It used to be the 3 P's, then it was the 4 P's. Really, it is product, what problems do you solve, price, what are your customers prepared to pay for what you sell, place, is it on a website or is it in a physical location, promotion, what's your channel mix, what's the cadence of your messages, people, customer service, sales teams. I was talking to a guy that reached out to me on LinkedIn that he does a real big focus on CX, customer experience. And as he's talking about it, it's like, well, yeah, that's reviews, that's social recommendations, that's the village talking about what you do. And then physical evidence. So you look around here, what's the signage of this location look like? How are they branded? What are the colors? What is their website? What's their digital website look like? All of that is marketing. So now I'm crawling into Tom's key area. He is a brand expert. He's going to speak at 2 o'clock. You want to sit down and talk with him. But is it branding or is it marketing? And what is the difference between branding and marketing? So I have a Starbucks logo. I admit it, I'm a Starbucks customer. So for me, they do deliver consistency wherever I go in the United States, that I pretty much know what I'm going to get from Starbucks, whether I do the drive-through or I go to the store. I just like the look and feel and like what they do. They've got it down as much as McDonald's does. So, but it's not a logo or slogan or even a mark. They have a feel, and you think of certain places that you love to go to. One of my favorite stores is the PGA Superstore because I'm a golfer. It's a candy store for me. My second favorite store is Lowe's because I'm a homeowner. It's like, what can I buy today? What can I fix? And so, we all have our favorite stores. So actually I'm going to talk a whole session on this next month at Tech Alley about how to set up and what to look at to set up your ideal customer persona. I cannot emphasize enough how important this is. And I will say there's a fair amount of businesses, especially startups, that don't pay a lot of attention. And you really should focus on, before you get out there spending money, who your ideal customers are, what books do they read, what websites, where do they hang out, what are their needs behind the need, what are the common problems that they're trying to solve, and what do they think? What are their philosophies? There's a lot of ways of looking at that. So we'll be talking about that more, but you really, as a business, need to focus on your persona. So saw this quote recently from Liam Maroney. He's on LinkedIn, and I just love the shit he puts out. It's not shit. Marketing is not something in which you can simply pour budget and see results if you first don't start with the understanding. And so that goes back to understanding your ideal customer. It's very, very easy, if you get your first round of funding or maybe you're in your second round, I'll say, whoa, we got a marketing budget, let's go. But if you haven't put the time into finding out who that ideal customer is, you could burn a lot of cash. So Okay, I'm breaking the laws of presenting a lot of different text on here, but I'm making a point. So this person is doing a podcast like Steven. He does a great podcast, by the way. Things I think you want to look at is Google have said, what is a factor in people making a buying decision? Now it's probably 30 plus things. The reason I highlighted some of these in blue, you might, if you're just getting going, or maybe you're kind of refreshing your marketing strategy, you've been around for a while, is, hey, we really need to do a good job on these things, and I'll talk more about that. So this is kind of hard to read, but and I'd be happy to send this to anybody that wants to see this, but I took that basic same information that you saw here, and I put it in, I'm a picture guy, and I put it into tying in with the core principles of marketing and branding, is what are the things that you might want to focus on first. I'm a big first things first guy, that you better have a strategy for search. Your website really needs to be color scheme, type font, information, reflect your brand personality. Data and data management. How do you keep track of all the customers? How do you keep track of prospects? How do you handle that data? Content strategy, big believer in content strategy, because it is, if these are planets orbiting the sun, again, you want to focus on these things. Social, of course, so maybe your audience is a TikTok audience, or maybe your audience is an older audience, it's a Facebook audience, or maybe they read the Denver Post. I come from all these worlds, I have a perspective on it. Reviews, a lot of businesses, I would say only 10% do reviews and social proof really, really well. And so how I know that from the automotive I'm talking multi-rooftop franchises in Denver and throughout the country, that some do a really good job of customer reviews that, hey, I bought a car from Mary or Ed or Heather, and it was a great experience. And the good dealerships leverage their customer reviews, and they do it so well, they do it on Podium or Dealer Rater, that they have people that come off the street and say, I want to work with Mary to get my car. She's the one, I don't want to work with anybody else. A lot of businesses struggle with that, but this is a good way to look at the universe. And the best strategies, think about actions you can do consistently over time. So whether it's posting up content on LinkedIn, is it doing things on TikTok? What is it? What you or your team, what can you execute? Start there, because we all have ambitions that, I want this to look this way and that to look that way. Start small. Again, is there a regular time and day that you're going to post on social? It's a good idea to maybe get that down to timing. Who's going to do it? What if that person leaves your company? What's the cadence going to be of your messaging? Am I messaging too little? Am I messaging too much? You can start to get tells. So this is a box me and my business partner, Mike Higgins, have put together, and we call it the Higgins-Hiebeler marketing box. And the reason we talk about a successful campaign for any business is you have to really have these four components. You have to have access to good data. Either it's your customer data or it's prospect data. Maybe it's data customers on Facebook or TikTok. Do you have the in-house expertise to pull it off, or do you need to outsource that expertise to pull off a good marketing strategy and execute it? Do you have the budget? Time is money, money is time. And I've worked with clients to where we're really good on these top three, and their website is not conversion ready. It's crappy. And so we call it, do they have a good, Mike and I will talk about clients who we talk prospects. It's like, well, do they have a good mousetrap? He'll ask me. It's like, yeah, or we need to tweak these things. So you can send all the leads in the world, but if your site isn't asking anybody to nudge them forward or to do anything, then you're burning money. So most marketing expectations don't match reality, and so you'll either have investors or maybe you're executing the strategy for your company, and well, how's that doing? And so the expectations have to be realistic, because let's face it, there are more people not on your website than are. It's a fact. My favorite quote, kind of a crazy maker. The farmer talks to the dirt and says, give me a good looking crop first and then I'll plant the seeds. You know, looking at that dirt. So that is kind of a way that sometimes companies look at their marketing, that I'm not seeing anything yet. Nothing's happening. And so there's an expectation that you want to control. Now, there was a buyer study done in 2020 of people that are entering in lead forms. And one of the things that we thought was interesting is, many of you have seen this before, there's about 3% that actually bought. There were 40% that were just starting to think about buying, and there were 56%, almost 57% that were, I like what you're doing, I really do like this, I just can't do it right now, I'm out. But I like what you're doing. And so many companies will focus on, well, I want leads, I want people that are going to turn right now, that 3%, but what about that 40%? So the true size of your buy now audience is smaller than you think. And yeah, everybody knows that, but think of it this way, that whole universe was everybody that would be interested or be a good fit, an ideal prospect for my product. So again, that 40% you want to pay attention to. And so Wall Street, and I've worked for publicly traded companies, and it's why many of us said, I quit, I'm starting my own thingy. You just get tired of the quarterly thinking of, when you sold this week, Dave, what's our quarterly? What are we doing? And you want to do, if you're an entrepreneur, you want to get out of that quarterly Wall Street crazy maker, because it doesn't serve you very well. So Tom and I have talked academically about the buying funnel, and understand that any buying funnel is, all it is a reference point. The world is messy. It is not linear by any stretch, but it's instructive in that anyone going through in messaging, you want to get to, if you're just starting out, you want to get to that top funnel building stage. You've got current and future prospects. As they percolate through, they come in, they come out, either, I don't have the money right now, but I really like what you do. What can you do to nudge them to the next step? Many companies are very, very focused on this connecting on the lowest part of that funnel. And I get it, because you're spending a lot of good money on marketing and you want to turn that, but there is a process. It's how you buy things, it's how everybody buys anything. So the key point here is to direct your messages to the correct funnel stage. So are we targeting high funnel right now, or are we targeting low funnel? If you have the same message for everybody, that is wasting your strategy. You really want to think about and have several messages. Say, okay, we're going to have this campaign that's going to target somebody that's they don't know anything about us. Marketing is about creating awareness to strangers, right? So you want to message them to that. No question. You want to fall in love with your 40%. And why I point out the 40%, they are the most open to influence. We always talked about this at cars.com, about as you work through purchasing a vehicle, and some of these Ford F-150, 250s or Lincoln Aviators, they're $95,000. And I would talk to dealers that would say, Ed, how come you only have one picture? It's a $95,000 truck. And they can have 30 pictures. And so the point is, you want to get out there and start to move and be able to influence those people that are just starting out. They might want your product. Time is your equalizer. It positions you to win. And again, frequency is a big thing now, in that, back 25 years ago, 30 years ago, there's a Harvard study that said average salesperson to get an appointment would take 7 reach outs to get that appointment, and it's about 80% quit after the 4th attempt. Today, all this messaging has now become at least 14. So when we talk trial and soak, that's getting deep on your best audience, and that is being there on a regular basis with the message of help of what you're doing. So this is your antidote to shortening attention spans. And so we have, for example, a luxury auto dealer that is in the East Coast, US. He's been running this store as 3 rooftops. They're selling very, very upscale BMWs. And on the 21st of every month, they do a permission-based email campaign that is running out to about 50,000 people. And they've been doing it since 2014. And they do it because they want to own that market. And so when we talk about trial and soak, yeah, there have been refinements to get to that point, but they keep soaking that market. They know there's a couple of close-in counties in where they're located, and they just keep coming the message. So if you're going to buy a new or used vehicle, you're going to go to this luxury dealer. So they have decided to own it. And not everybody does this, but you don't want to underfund. If you decide to market, don't underfund your campaign. It's no longer a spreadsheet line item that is kind of, and this is challenging now because we might be going into a mild recession in the US and the world. And so just saw a thing today on LinkedIn about, those that are starting to pull back from their marketing, but you might regret that a year from now. Identify channels that work for you and decide to own it. I mean, it could be, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Nextdoor, that I got to tell you, if you're targeting like a couple of Denver neighborhoods, if you are selling whatever service you're selling, you can actually own a neighborhood for not a lot of money. I mean, I've seen campaigns where it's like $180 to own a couple of zip codes. And yeah, it's kind of crazy stuff that goes on LinkedIn, but it's kind of the neighborhood Facebook. So going back to social proof, you really want to focus on a review strategy of either people that have worked with you in the past, current customers, and so allow them, whether it's Google reviews or whether it's Facebook or whether it's LinkedIn, on your website to have a review strategy. This, again, is that 10%, only about 10% really do that well. And so it needs to be a conscious strategy of your business that I'm going to own reviews. It's all got to be true. There's review fraud out there, but you want to have reviews that are going to give social proof that's going to serve you well. And again, these need to be stories about problems that you solved, and stop yelling and selling. So we see this, the auto dealers that have the guy that, the wind comes up, or the gorilla on the top of their roof. And we'd be in meetings in Chicago with all the Cars.com groups, and it's like, oh my God, these it's still out there. You hear it on the radio, and some people like that, but don't be yelling and selling. Look like help. So measuring marketing effectiveness, a couple things you want to look at is, what is the lifetime value of a customer? And so that is your customer sales per month times the number of months on average that you keep them. And then the other thing you want to look at is, what does it cost you to acquire that customer, your CAC? So that's your total budget divided by your number of customers. And there's some conventional rules, an ideal ratio of your customer lifetime value divided by your cost to acquire them. It's going to be your ROI ratio. If any of you are doing Facebook, you see it as return on ad spend. And so one of the challenges with Facebook that I'm seeing out there right now is the ROAS has been going. And so that's a challenge just because of how people are using it. But if you have a 5-to-1 ratio, you're probably leaving market share on the table. You're probably not marketing enough. If you're 1-to-1, then you need to maybe change channels. All right, everyone. I don't know any of you that watch my favorite show, HBO Succession, Action Stations. I'm going to pass out the worksheet thing, and I don't ask you to do it right now, but take it home or throw it in a circular file if you don't like it, but take it if you want it. And I actually have done this with my company, and there are some magical things about setting these goals. Pass this around. So I've got it up on the screen here, and let me just show you how I use this. So, okay, what's your current situation? What 3 things I love? Has anybody heard Steve Jobs' Power of 3? Anybody know what that is?
Sounds really familiar.
It's cool because when Steve Jobs would present to everybody at Apple, he would never present more than like 3 main ideas on a screen or in a current day part thing he was talking about, because people forget 4, 5, 6, 7. And so he would repeat 3 things. And so what are the 3 things you need to change in your business 1 year from today? And you know what they are. And so what you want to do with this is, the first one, instead of your website, maybe you're good there, that could be TikTok or that could be LinkedIn. But website, content generation, social media, your CRM, your own data, search, and then reviews, I think, and sales team, I think those are great places to start for any company. You might want to plug in podcasts, or you might want to plug in, video creation. But video creation, whether you're either creating videos on LinkedIn or Facebook or Insta, that's part of content creation. And, if it's content creation, maybe you say, you know what, I really want to get into writing more content I can use on my website and post up in certain places. I'm going to commit to creating 1 new story per month, or 2 new stories. And so that's a great place to start. And you start over with, a 3, 6 month and a 1 year goal. I'm telling you, I've done this, and I am blown away at some of the things that have occurred in my business. So this is one of them. Being here today speaking to all of you is one of the things on that list.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
damn straight. I'm a believer. Anyway. So kind of wrapping things up. So time to get realistic on your expectations. What realistically can we do? And that's really a focus of this. Remember, failure is an option. That's where trial and soak comes in, is you learn from your mistakes. Have you not learned from the mistakes in your life? I'm never going to do that again, or I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do it differently. Get it right the next time. Lack of time distorts where you may be gaining real results in your marketing, and so give it enough runway to run in your campaign, but watch it like a hawk. Make refinements, and then adopt a trial and soak mentality and soak your patch. And so you are the ultimate scientist for your business. And so just say, hey, that's really curious. Like, one goal you could set for your website is, okay, pick a number. We're at 750 month in, month out unique visitors right now. I want to get that to 1,000. That's a realistic goal, or maybe it's getting it to 800. Whatever that is, make it doable, and then you look at, and I'll write a thing. Don't do it every week, but I'll write a thing. It's like, what are my wins this week? Like, oh my God, did this. We just get so wrapped up into the speed of 500 miles an hour. It's just craziness. So a word from your sponsor, Align2Compete. We're a boutique marketing agency. We started in 2019, and our crystal balls broke when the pandemic hit and Putin decided to take on the world. But just like all of us here, we have to deal with it. We're in our 4th year. We're really big into demand generation. Lead generation is great, but you got to create the demand, and that takes time. We do permission-based email campaigns targeting audiences. We do content writing, and we do contextual advertising. We do a lot of other things, but we're more of a boutique shop that's more in the execution of a strategy in helping a business think about what's most important in their marketing. So if you want, we have a white paper that's about a 20-minute read. It's how we view the world of marketing, and we have combined probably 8 decades of channel and marketing experience. So if that's of interest, feel free to download that. And that's how you can contact me. And I appreciate everybody's time. I'm going to open it up for questions right now. Yo.
So you talk about this number of touch points, how it used to be 7 and now it's 14. If someone has a content creation campaign where they send out an email list to anyone on their email server about the latest blog post, the latest podcast episode, or anything like that, does that count as one of these 14 contacts? Or is there a separate category, or do you need like 30 of those or something else?
That's a touch. Absolutely, that counts. That counts. Anything you do. So, you pick up the phone, which is a little bit more challenging nowadays thanks to the telecoms. But, maybe it's somebody you send a message on LinkedIn. And let me say a word about LinkedIn. Most of you are probably using it, but if you're not using LinkedIn, I tell you what, it's got the best organic reach next to TikTok right now of just about any place, and they've maintained it. And that's just a great resource. So, it's been said about founders, many founders spend too much time on LinkedIn. That's true up to a point. There's a point with LinkedIn to where you need to get off LinkedIn and say, hey, I'm really getting a back and forth. Let's pick up the phone, or let's grab coffee somewhere. But yeah, that's a good point.
Also, I'll just add on LinkedIn, there's not as many content creators, so if you do create content, typically people are noticing more.
Yes.
It's not as in your face as Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
I've noticed too. I don't feel like I post too much content. People are like, I love your content. I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
It's just a good opportunity if you actually are active.
Yeah, and yeah, and when I talk about organic reach, you thanks for bringing that up, because I did a repost, and so another thing you should be using if you're not is Flipboard. Flipboard is absolutely awesome, but every morning I'm on Flipboard for about an hour and a half, and I'm whatever stories are sent to me, as I'm reading all this stuff. I did this repost totally out of our swim lane of supply chain, retail supply chain in the United States, and it talked about how all the warehouses are filling up in Ontario, California, the Inland Empire, and how and I just said, whoa, that's really going to affect the prices you pay for flat screens at Target and Costco. This has never happened to me. When I do a post on LinkedIn, a really good post might be like 300, 400 views, a really good one. I had 53,000 people read that. I had 232 comments and like 25 reshares, or shares, I should say. Yeah, I was totally blown away. This thing was like a life of its own. I go, people are commenting on the story, so you comment back. It's just crazy. But
Easiest content to do too, especially if you're not used to it.
Yeah.
Reading an article that's interesting, sharing it, adding your 2 cents, that's a great way to get started.
Yeah. And yeah.
How often would you suggest doing this on LinkedIn? So you're not driving all your coworkers crazy, but
we're all busy running our businesses, but I think if you can raise your hand, hey, I'm around at least once a week, couple, 2 or 3 times, you'll see if your followers are going up, and they go, oh, people didn't like that. I lost like 4 followers that day. It's like, well, they can fuck off. Anyway. I'm sorry, anybody that knows it, it's kind of my view of the world right now. Anyway, no, I'm not that, I'm more fun. I'm not that caustic. But
you comment on other people's posts, that shows to your followers too. Or when she does something, I see it, and then I'll comment on that, and then her followers will always come and look at my profile.
yes.
That's really unique, I think, about
Yeah, because your people are way different than hers and different than his, and it's just amazing that way. And those of you that know Joe that put together Tech Alley, I just love Joe. And Joe put out a thing, and he's right. It's just, hey, let's lift everybody that we know, or that they did a really cool post, and do a comment on it or like it. And it's not like, well, they're the competition. Yeah, we all have competition, but I think by collaboration and association,
That's how you can support people, right?
Yes.
As a content creator, if you see a friend producing content, just say something about it. Like, give them support. It's really lonely. It's really like, do people like this? And so if you could just comment, like it, support other people, and support other content creators, it just helps us all out.
Yeah. And if you didn't know this, don't go into politics, please, please. A guy I worked with at the Orange County Register, he headed up the auto category, and he posted up something, and it's like, you're a dumbass. Anyway, it gets people's back up. If you wanna talk your political views, don't do it in LinkedIn. It is a professional network, just like this is a professional network. But I'll stop talking. Yes.
So you talked about ROI on different channels. When do you start to abandon a channel or leave it or diversify to a different channel? How do you consistently keep track of all these metrics across different channels?
Right. Well, no, I that's a great question from the standpoint. What will happen sometimes, I've even talked to auto dealers that say, hey, we're targeting this type of credit score to this type of group. And when we first started the campaign, I went, whoa, and we think, wow, that's it. We're gonna make a lot of money off this. Then over time, it goes down. And so one of the reasons that happened is they tap out that market or that fishing hole. And so to answer your question, you want to look at, is the traffic consistent? Is it growing? Is it starting to decline? And it's been said a trend in force tends to project itself if you look at enough data. That you want to look at, hey, this doesn't seem as good as it was. That's a real issue with Facebook right now, where I'm on this Facebook. It's kind of a listening post for me, this Facebook group of Facebook users, and oh my God, the things they're saying right now about, yeah, my ROAS used to be 2.5 and now it's down to 1.5, and it's just blowing up the whole comment thread. And so you want to look at, hey, am I chasing good money after bad? So you want to look at the matrix, but give it enough time, because is there something that went on in the community? If you're just focusing on Denver, is there something that went on in the world? Give it enough time to make sure that you don't want to abandon it. And you want to step back and say, okay, well, is it the channel is shit, or is my message crappy, or am I targeting it to the wrong prospects? You got to take ownership from that end too. You want to look at that. I don't know if that answered your question. Yeah. In some campaigns, when you start out, you're in a ramp-up phase, and so you need to get the creative just so, you need to get the message cadence just so, and you just need to be open to what's going on. But I wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater if you think it's a good site, it's got good quality traffic, and it makes sense for you. You might dig deeper and say, what can we do different with this? So I'll leave you with one more quote. Don't break stuff that you lean in. Somebody said, if you break it, you break it. If you break it, you buy it. I move around a lot. This is talking about brand equity, like equity in your home. If you don't take the time to build up your brand equity, then it does not give you the right, either what you charge or how you run your business. It cannot be an overnight miracle, and all of us see these rags to riches stories that I'm bringing in passive income of X, Y, Z. We see these every day, and what they don't cover is the 5 years it took that person to get there. That's the part you miss. So, yeah. Well, cool. Thank you.